9:01. I don't see that Selectman Brown or Nina Braun or anyone else has joined us yet. That's fine, or it's actually 9:02. So we'll, in the interest of moving things along, I will read the new introduction or preamble, whatever you'd like to call it, to top off our meeting, or to begin our meeting, I should say. So this is a COVID-19 related statement that I'm required to read under the Right to Know law. As chair of the Exeter, New Hampshire Communications Advisory Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. This part of the statement trips me up a little bit. I'm supposed to know the date that the public notice of this meeting was actually posted on the town website and on the bulletin board of the town offices at 10 Front Street. I will record that date for future meetings. I don't know when this meeting notice was actually posted. I do know that the meeting was originally supposed to be on October 6th, which was last Tuesday. And because of some scheduling conflicts, we did have to bump it to today. And I know that I sent Pam McElroy at the town clerk's office the agenda for today's meeting on last Friday, which would have been Friday, October 9th, 2020. So that is the best information I can provide there. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. And we can start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. And when each member states their presence, if you could please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting and who that person is, a son, a daughter, spouse, etc. That's all required under the Right to Know law. So I can begin with myself. My name is Connor Berry. I'm the chair of the Communications Advisory Committee. I'm here at my house. I am alone. We can go down the line here. Bob Glowacki.
Bob Glowacki, Exeter TV. I'm over here in the town hall by myself.
Okay. And Martha McEntee.
I'm Martha McEntee. I'm at home by myself.
Lindsay Sonnet.
Lindsay Sonnet, and I'm in the room alone.
And Selectman Darrell Brown.
I am in the cave alone.
Okay. And it looks like Nina's coming in, and I know that we have our brand new member of the committee, Bevan Kennedy. So Bevan, if you could just state your name and if you're alone.
Yes, Bevan Kennedy. I am alone in the room.
Great, thanks so much. And Nina, I see that you're on. You looks like now you're unmuted, although I don't know if you're video enabled. Are you here with us?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we can hear you very clearly, so the audio is not the issue then.
Okay, good.
It was distributed last Friday. I think there were a couple of items that I probably should have put on there that I did not. Just as a brief personal announcement, I was married to my wife on September 20th, and have been in.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. And have been in kind of wedding mode and then a honeymoon mode. And we're over 3 weeks since the event. I'm pleased to report that everyone was COVID free. So it was a very fun and special and very safe event. So with that said, I will admit that a lot of the committee work has sort of taken a back seat for me personally these last couple of weeks. But nevertheless, I thought it was important that we meet. And I think, we do still have an agenda this morning. So I guess I wanted to start with, we do have a new member, Bevan, who is very generously volunteering her time to be on the committee. And Bevan, I don't know you. I don't know if any of the other committee members do. I don't know if you just wanted to give kind of a brief introduction of yourself and your professional background.
Sure. Probably not. I've only been in Exeter for a couple of years. I moved here from Washington, D.C. I currently do communications and development for the Diocese of Manchester. We're the Catholic Church of New Hampshire. I love it here. This is such an amazing town, and I've always been interested in trying to volunteer in any way I can to help sort of town governance. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. And I'm glad to hear you have a communications background. That's excellent. And welcome to Exeter. I say welcome as if I'm a lifelong, I've only been here for about a year and a half. So
nice. Nice.
But,
thank you very much.
Yeah, excellent. And then another thing I wanted to follow up on that was not specifically mentioned on the agenda, the select board had a meeting recently, and I know that Selectman Brown, I think you indicated during that meeting that because we were supposed to meet the following day, so I guess this meeting would have been on the 5th because we were supposed to meet originally on the 6th. And I think you wanted to follow up with this committee about some of the things that were discussed during the select meeting.
Yeah, and I think I looped in an email with Bob and Greg on that. Just basically, there was some time-sensitive information that they wanted on the website, and then there was a general discussion about how that would go. But the main press was, can we get the communications committee to do X? Which again, I think is a little bit misaligned with. I think we're more of an oversight thing, but it was trick or treating and another event related to that. The stargazing. Totally unrelated to Halloween, but time sensitive communications stuff that Bob and Greg had both already taken care of. So
okay, fair enough. Then we can just kind of dispense with that. I know so I guess, Bevan, just to fill you in briefly on some of the goings on of the committee, there's at least two, I would say, primary projects that the committee's been working on, one of which is an ongoing working draft of a survey that the committee, has an interest in distributing to the general public. The survey would essentially be asking not only Exeter residents, but residents who look to, the Exeter Town website or the Exeter Facebook page for communications and updates, the kind of information that they're looking for, the current functionality of all of the communications approaches that Exeter uses, and then ways we think that they could improve that. Or is there information that they would be looking for that they're not getting right now? We've gone around and around on the survey. I don't know if we just want to spend a few minutes on it this morning. I know that there's a working draft in place. Bob, thankfully, has been putting this together, trying to integrate different material that committee members have been sending him. I think last meeting we discussed it briefly again. We don't think there's any harm in doing it, but for those of us that have worked with these types of surveys before, the response rate is usually mixed, and we're not sure if we're going to get really all of the data points that we think we might get. We're just not sure how helpful it might be in the end. So I don't know if we want to entertain some sort of a vote on this survey. I don't know if we feel that it's in a final draft stage, if we feel that it's appropriate to be distributed at this point. We can look through it again. If the committee feels that we're just kind of wasting our time with this and the survey just isn't going to do anything for us, we can dispense with it. But I do think it's probably worth entertaining, kind of a vote, or at least some sort of final resolution on it. Bob, just because Bevan hasn't seen it yet, would you mind just taking us through that one more time and just sharing your screen?
Sure thing.
Okay, thanks so much. And hopefully we can move on from this. Hopefully we can either vote on it, make a recommendation to the select board and get the survey out, or just, dispense with it.
I think you're seeing it now. Let me just.
Yes, we are.
So, this is what the draft looks like. I'll just go to the preview mode here. So, it's kind of, we went back and forth on a bunch of different approaches, but we kind of settled on, kind of started off with a really open-ended question to kind of get them interested, and rather than, maybe putting them off with a bunch of questions about who they are and, where they are located, stuff like that. But then we do go into that, trying to get, some basic contact info for people, where do they live? Are they from Exeter, or from the region, the state, or are they outside New Hampshire? And this is a really important question, I think, because, if everyone was from outside of Exeter saying one thing and everyone inside Exeter saying one thing, like, who is our real audience? Who should we be making changes for, adjustments for? Probably people in Exeter is our, primary, our target audience, I guess. How long have they lived in Exeter? And these kind of questions we're getting at, how long have they been here, and how connected are they with the community in different ways? But maybe we need to, change those questions slightly or add some more. Then it's kind of like a how we're doing section. So, are you satisfied? Pleased? Are you dissatisfied? And then kind of ranking on a simple 1 to 3 scale of like different departments, communications, for all the many departments that we have here at the town. And then, what kind of town related info are you currently looking for? Which platforms do you use to try and get stuff? And then it's kind of like, what would you use, or what do you use in general? Like, do you use, Facebook, emails, website stuff? Do you ever go to public meetings? If not, why don't you go to meetings? Do you watch Exeter TV? We were going to add some more questions kind of about the TV station a little bit in there. What would you like to see? What platforms or methods should the town use? What's your preferred method of communication, if available, or if it was improved? And then kind of just, in closing, this was supposed to be, has any questions in the survey, alerted you to different communication tools you didn't know were there? Like, we have a town mobile app that you can download on your phone, and maybe seeing that in a previous question, would make you aware of this or something. And then it's just, what information would you prefer to see, communicated by the town of Exeter? And I think we need I definitely would say it's not in a final draft format now. As you can see, there's still some questions that need to be finished, and it needs to be, town branding and all that, which is pretty easy to do. But, yeah, I mean, I think I'd be, throw it back to you guys. Is there any stuff you guys would like to see put in there? And then maybe I was going to float this around to some of the department heads as well, to say, like, is there any insight on anything you guys do that I'm not aware of, or maybe that the committee isn't aware of, that we can maybe ask a couple more questions or rephrase a question in a way? Because there's a lot of stuff that, I don't know about, because we don't have a centralized communication anything. So maybe there's stuff we're not thinking of and that the department heads would ask for. So.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Bob, for sharing that. And again, thank you for all your work, kind of integrating all of the material and putting this whole thing together. Again, I don't think there's any harm in distributing it. And I think, Bob, that's a great idea. If you want to kick it out to other department heads, people have any other perspectives or input. I don't think there's necessarily any harm to it. I don't know what the response rate's going to be, and I don't know how useful the data will be. But as we've said, the Rockingham Planning Commission had put out a parking survey. Now, was that last year or a couple of years ago?
It's like 2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago. And the response rate was fairly good. There was actually something gleaned from that.
I'll just add that I think they used a tool that really put it in front of people. And early on, I was feeling pretty adamant that we should also pay for that service, which is a couple thousand. But this was like a year ago when we first started talking about this survey. And so I think that's probably not realistic in terms of our bandwidth and budget and all of that stuff. I do think we probably shouldn't expect to get much of a response rate at all if we're just sort of passively putting it out there and seeing if it lands in front of people. That also might be totally fine. I don't feel super strongly either way. I just think we shouldn't expect much, and maybe we'll be delighted with the 20 or 50 people that respond. So.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, while if we're not going to, and I don't maybe think we should go ahead with some, big campaign with it, but definitely we'll use our social media channels, mention it on TV and put it on the website. But what I would also, recommend, and we could all kind of do this in our own way, is just send it around directly to people who, maybe it is going to be some of the people who deal with the town a lot, who, they would take the time to do this. But also, if you just happen to know some people, like your neighbors, who, maybe they don't care about anything with the town website or don't, they're not on boards. Maybe those people, we can get some of them to answer some of these questions as well. And maybe it will be 50 people, but I think that's still valuable. Like even I'll give the example of I get feedback from one gentleman about the mobile app all the time, and it's just one person, but his comments are raise like issues that are real, and we're able to kind of address some of those, and it's just one person. So but obviously take that with a grain of salt. If 50 people say something, maybe the rest of the town doesn't feel that way. So, but catch-22, but.
I actually think that one of the benefits of doing the survey, especially since Bob has put in so much work, and I think the draft looks very good, is to give some legitimacy to whatever the communications committee recommends to the select board. And that I think in and of itself is valuable.
Mm-hmm. I thought kind of all decided that it was a good idea to do the survey. So I think the next step, and I don't know, maybe I missed the round. Bob, I think you were going to send it out to everyone so we can review the questions that were finalized on there. And then we could take it to other committees or other town offices like you suggested, which I think is a great idea. But I would say we've decided that let's do this. So the next step is let's do it. And with the election coming up, we were going to find out if there's an opportunity to whether have a poster or something, a table or something that identifies the fact that the survey is available. Whether, obvious, I would think that it would live on the website, the town website, as a landing ground. That's my 2 cents.
Yep. Bob, specifically, what questions did you think were, incomplete or still needed work?
I mean, there were just a few that I saw on there that I hadn't even finished. They're not complete sentences. So a couple of those need to get completed. But I guess it came down to, I think we decided to try and keep it really short to, that open-ended question, and hopefully we'll just get some stuff from that. I just wanted to drill down a little bit more into some of those questions to make sure we're going to get responses that give us data that looks, that we can, see something from it. If it's just a bunch of, text answers, it might not show us a lot. So, and I just need to review some of the questions to make sure that there's an answer, the ability to, type in their own answer in a list rather than selecting stuff, or and maybe adding another one of those longer answer questions. I selfishly want to put some more stuff about the TV station in there, because that's what I'm interested in. But that's kind of one example. Maybe if we sent that around to other departments, maybe there's other stuff that we're not thinking about, and then it will be up to you guys. Like, with what they suggest putting in or taking out. Is that something that you guys want to look into?
Okay, so and I do like the idea about advertising it at the polling stations for the election. That is only a few weeks away, unfortunately. So I do wonder if we could maybe try to set our next meeting for before the election so that we could at least try to get this finalized. I just don't know if, it's 3.
Can I just make a suggestion? Because by the time, the election's in 3 weeks. So in the meantime, I feel like we sit kind of idle for that month in between. So we could even create a subcommittee to finalize the questions and so that we can have something presented the next meeting. And then in the meantime, that subcommittee would also submit those questions to the town offices, as Bob suggested. And then so we'd have something more concrete and to finalize. And then it can probably, I don't know what the legwork is required to get it up on the website. Again, that would, unfortunately, sorry, Bob, give you more work again. But
I think it's totally doable.
Subcommittee, if we could do that.
Yeah, I think if we could send it I could send it today to, Pam to send it to the different committee chairs maybe and just get their responses and give them a deadline of, this Friday to get back to me with anything. And then same thing with the department heads. And then I could, compile their potential questions, and then if there's a subcommittee who wants to meet with me to just finalize it, then if we met next week or even in 2 weeks, which would be the 27th, the week before, I would basically just, we're not going to go out and spend a bunch of money on a fancy poster. We'd just probably print on I can make something real quick on an 11 by 17 piece of paper that they have in planning department, print it out with a QR code that just opens the survey, and maybe just put that at the exit of the polls is what I would probably do, or in line in the front of it, because maybe people will be captivated audience there waiting to get inside. So maybe that's a better approach.
I think if we put a timeline on these responses, it feels totally doable to get it finalized. And thanks, Nina, for reminding us of our original timeline. That feels easy, I think.
So Bob, let me suggest this. If you want to kick it out to other department heads with a deadline for feedback if you think it's doable, this Friday, the 16th, I see that I'm weary of just posting this on the website without the blessing of the select board. I just don't, given that we're an advisory committee, I don't know if anyone else has any strong feelings about that. My inclination is that once this survey is in a final draft form, we should try to present it to the select board and just ask them for their vote. I see here that the next 2 select board meetings before the election are Monday the 19th and Monday the 26th. Monday the 19th seems, given that that's only next week, that does seem a little fast, but maybe we could have everything kind of finalized. We could have the subcommittee meet with Bob next week. And then for the 26th, we could have Bob or myself or someone present the survey at the select board meeting. That could be another avenue to sort of advertise the existence of the survey. And then we could, that week leading up to the election, we could just post it then. Does that seem like kind of a viable path forward?
Selectman Brown, do you want to weigh in on whether you think that's
we could definitely, I think, so backing up a couple steps to Bob's point, we probably should have one question about programming, like what kind of long form content people might want to see. And I think we could be surprised at the turnout if you prime it with, using mask mandate, using the mask mandate information as a touch point, and also mail-in ballot. So things where Paul Scafidi and different people have made how-to videos. So informational versus programming. Sorry to cram a bunch of thoughts into here, but so I think we could rush this. It's not that it's been in people's minds for so long that sort of just sending a thing out to department heads that says any objections, any additions, you've got whatever 48 hours or wherever we are, presenting that to the board. The board is inclined to, I think, move on any survey that comes forward. And again, this far ahead would be ideal because mail-in ballots, mask mandate, these things are on people's minds as where they could reflect and say, how do I feel about the information that, how I want to receive it, what format it's in, what kind of programming I'd like to see around it. Because again, I think the something that came up and was easy to miss in the board discussion post-mask mandate approval was, we need the communications committee to get this up. Well, education was a big piece of it. So is education as programming a thing, or just pushing the mandate information, it's a subtle difference, but for communications, it's a huge difference of, are we up to, are we engaged in programming, or are we engaged in just bulletin boards? And, that's the kind of activity I think the communications committee should be engaged in, rather than where we were at the beginning of this meeting where the select board just said, hey, get the communications committee to put stuff up. Well, that sort of speaks to, the easily overlooking these higher order things that you've been working on for so long. So again, in short, I'd say rushing it is fine, being more thorough. There's no huge loss there, but people are coming off of, they've got the example of mask mandate to think about for content, and they've got, elections on the mind. So we could get a great turnout, and it's far enough. It's sandwiched between mandate and election to where you could get some really useful feedback.
You'd think the board would want to see it before it goes live. I wouldn't have considered that to be a necessary step, but
I think there'll be it's not requisite for sure, but if you wanted to present it to the board, I think they'd be happy to expedite and say, let's move with this. So, is there a sense that this committee would publish that sooner? So,
I think it'd be doable to present it at the 26th meeting if we wanted. Also, there's with Zoom now, they've been calling a lot of special meetings. So if they needed to do something, on a Friday to talk about this real quick and give it its blessing, I think that you could talk with Nico or something about, could they just do that? But I think we could probably, if I got responses by, this Friday, make any changes, and then we could finish something by the following Friday, as, one or two of you with me, where you don't have to post those meetings. And then, I think we could send it to them if we can get on the agenda for the 26th, if you guys want to do that.
So I will volunteer to be on the subcommittee. I've been, working with Bob on the survey. I'm happy to kind of get it across the finish line. So if just quickly to just establish the subcommittee, I'm happy to be on it. Are there any other regular committee members who are interested in being? Okay, Martha, that's great. So anyone else?
I'll help you design the or do a quick design of the communications poster if you want. If you get me the information, and
sure,
I can work on that. But you probably only need 3 people for a subcommittee, I think.
I don't feel like I have to be on it. If you need more help, call on me. But it seems like you guys are good.
Okay, that's great. So let's just think about. We're going to be trying to get feedback by this Friday. I think it's probably worthwhile to meet next week. I'm just trying to look at my calendar here. Does next Tuesday work? Bob, is that doable for you to get kind of things in place by next Tuesday?
Sure. I think that's probably possible.
Okay. And Martha and Nina, does next Tuesday at 9 work for you for a subcommittee meeting specifically dealing with the survey?
Yes. Yes, for me.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. Sure.
Is that okay, Nina?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So let's plan to have a subcommittee meeting next Tuesday, which is October 20th, 2020 at 9 a.m. We can do it via Zoom, obviously. Nina, if you want to come to that meeting with us, kind of a working draft of the poster that we can use to advertise the survey at the polls, that would be great. I'm happy to email you some information that I think would be necessary to have on there. I think really the poster really just needs to say that this communications, the town communications survey exists. We're looking for input from everyone, residents and non-residents. And we just needed the link to find the survey, which we will create once we actually publish the survey. And then Bob, if you want to,
And then a QR code. Yeah, we can discuss that later. But Bob had mentioned a QR code, which is great. I think it's great if you have that.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, so we will meet, and the subcommittee will meet. We can all email each other this week and kind of get everything organized for that, and then we can take it across the finish line. It's been a year in the making, but I'm glad to hear that we're finally going to get it published. Before we move on from the survey, did anyone else have any other kind of closing thoughts or anything else? I just didn't want to move on too quickly.
I just liked, and I don't know if this is what Selectman Brown was getting at, was, on the poster or something like that, if we want to grab people's attention, you mentioned those examples, like how did we do with the mask mandate? How did we do with election information? Where people might be like, oh, I want to say something about that. But then when they get into it, hopefully they calm down and answer it all and not just yell on the survey. But, maybe they'll yell praise on the survey. Who knows?
Yes, that's exactly right. I like that, using kind of, buzzwords or hot topics, recently to draw the eye and get interest. I think that's great. I think that should be on the poster board. So Nina, that's something you could work on incorporating as well if you wanted to design it. Anything that catches the eye.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, excellent. So the other, Bevan, so that was really one of the primary projects, was trying to get this survey developed and published. The other primary project is a working draft of what we are calling a communications master plan, which is something that, we wanted to put together kind of a final document for individual departments to turn to for best practices whenever they're drafting a press release to put onto our town website, or if they're publishing information on all of their individual social media accounts. Nina, I think during our last meeting, you had discussed the possibility of finding, just because you work in the communication space or the marketing space, if you had materials on best practices for using social media. I don't know if you were able to.
We did talk about that, and I did not get anything out. I apologize, but I will send information out that I've been gathering to everyone via email, or I'll send it to you, Connor, and then you can pass it around. However is the official way to do it, but I will get that to you. I apologize for the delay on that.
No, there's no apology necessary. That's fine. I just wanted to follow up about that. And then, Bevan, I don't know, just because you work so closely in the communication space, I don't know if you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot at all, but if you knew of any materials about, best practices for drafting press releases or best practices for using social media for marketing.
Definitely.
Okay. And I don't...
So just sorry for my own knowledge. Does the town departments, whether it's, I don't know, rec or planning, do they just release their own information and say, Bob put this on the website?
I'll just jump in a little bit, where like sometimes people will send stuff to me or Pam McElroy, the
Right.
executive assistant. Most departments who like do communication stuff, it's like maybe their office admin or there's no one really that any information is funneling through and being checked in any way. It's at least a central place. Like departments each have their own poster. That's why if you look at different parts of the website, it will look different and stuff like that. So we were trying to. This committee, I guess, has come up with, what works best and guides for maybe departments doing stuff similarly.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Look.
Okay.
So Bevan, if you have anything that would be useful, to that end, it would be great if you could distribute it. I guess maybe, I'm not sure exactly the formality of it. I just sat through a 3-hour right to know public records webinar that Russ Dean had suggested all the chairs of the committees listen to. I think we do want to be careful about New Hampshire RSA 91A, which is the public meeting statute. I think if you just funnel everything through me, I can put it on the agenda for next meeting, and then I can make our committee aware that this information is on the agenda. I can post like links to the documents, or I can just, if you send me the documents, I can publish the documents themselves as sort of a supplement to the agenda. And then the committee members can review that information in advance of the next meeting, just so long as it's all kind of public, as long as it's published publicly. So that would be great.
I was going to say, Connor, you can, if people send you stuff and you want to include an agenda, Pam should be able to compile that into a meeting packet, which is like you can just click on the website to see the packet, and that way, we can even have it up during the meeting. I did try and look at other towns and cities in New Hampshire to find, and if they have communication plans, and I could not find anything. I don't know if, their websites, if their search things weren't working, but, I found a lot of master plans and projects that had communication aspects into their plans, like Portsmouth's, master plan with, their 2020 vision or 2025 vision. It was hard to find, and I did find some examples, and now, of course, I can't pull them up here. I'll keep looking.
Guys, I'm sorry that I need to jump. Are we thinking of meeting on the 27th, Connor? Is that what?
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate, because by the 26th we would have had our survey presented to the select board. So is that okay for everybody? Is it Tuesday the 27th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Great. Well, hearing no objections, we can make the meeting for the 27th. And thanks so much, Lindsay. Have a good one.
Hey, guys.
Okay, so I think all of that makes sense. Bob, were you cut off there? I don't know if you had more to say.
Nope. I mean, and I'm just kind of looking at our agenda for the meeting. I mean, and with the master plan specifically, what we did over the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I met with a few committee members, and I'm happy to continue doing it. But our strategy, because we kind of were often talking about this plan and to do something actionable, we picked the website, and we just looked through it, identified what you guys think are issues, and maybe talked about some ideas of how to improve it, and started compiling that stuff. And then we were going to go through other things like social media or, e-newsletters or, different things like that. So I did meet with MuniCode, the people who run our website, and had a lot of discussions with them. I did meet with Nina and Martha, and we had, separate, hour and a half long conversations about the website. So we got really deep into it. And, identified some problems, with Martha. We even had an additional meeting with some people involved with the elections, because there were some, really big errors on our website with that, out-of-date information and stuff like that. So we sort of put a Band-Aid on that for the time being, and we'll look to rectify those solutions permanently in the future. But from my meeting with Munico, there's a lot of nice functions with the website. And I think it's the right platform. We could do a refresh or redesign, as they say, to get a more updated look, with the same information on there. But that's and I have my notes here. So,
Bob, would a refresh or redesign cost anything additional, or what we're already?
Yeah. So a redesign. Kind of like what I was talking about with them, where you get their updated themes or whatever maybe is a word, stuff like that. And they gave me 4 websites that have kind of newer looks, and that's like a $4,000 one-time thing on top of your yearly hosting fees and stuff like that. There's I guess they use something called Drupal, which is like the content management system for the website. And Drupal 8 is coming out soon. And so if separate from a redesign, if we wanted to, maybe keep the same look, but update the content management system, which is how people are posting all the information and curating it on the back end, that's, a $5,000 cost. And, that would upgrade to, a completely new back end, ADA compliance and other built-in features, and trainings are included and stuff like that. What else did I have from their meeting? There's some unused features that I learned about. We do have email subscriptions available, so people can either get notifications about updates to pages, or when agendas are posted on a daily, weekly, monthly, we can customize it. So a lot of those things we just don't use or don't have set up, that are could be completely automated and not involve any staff time really, other than maybe an additional click when they're posting the page, but not really, newsletters.
Bob, sorry, with the email notifications, would that just be an opt-in system?
People can sign up, they put their email in, and they can, subscribe. They get notifications about a bunch of different things. There's also a Parks directory, which is unused, where, and I can actually just show you this real quick. Let's see. So this is what the email subscription thing looks like on the city of Los Altos. So you could go down and you want to get when these microsites is how the website's organized. I think when they post some news or announcement, which is basically they just click a box that adds it to the news section of the website. You'd get notified. City council, you want to get notifications on that, commissions, updates on that stuff. You just put in your email and hit subscribe. So pretty easy there. And then if I go to the Parks directory, which is another section, we currently don't use this for our Parks and Rec department, but you could use something like this. It's basically, Google Maps embedded, but it's you can search for facilities or parks, different amenities. You could also search, and there's you can click on the items on the map there, or you can scroll, and it's kind of looks like that Minutes Agendas page, but it's for parks. So you can have a picture, a little discussion about the park, and you can go into it, and it's just a web page basically. And that's the way to think about everything on our a meeting, an event, a park, everything is a web page. And if I go to the same thing with the Parks directory, there's a projects directory. So if the town wanted a place where people could go and see all the construction projects going on in town, and the big caveat there is someone has to go and post all of those things. This is not automatic. So again, does the DPW have the capacity to do that? I'm not sure. Not sure if anyone else has the capacity to do that, but if they did, this may be something that's really useful to people. Because they can see, all right, I see there's this big construction project, and if I click on it, it tells me about, the costs and all this other stuff involved with it. Maybe there'll be a, target completion date. So, okay, I see that they're going to be working on my street for the next month. I have all that info there. So those are, some main things. If I skip to our website.
And Bob, the functionality with the Parks and Recs notification and the construction notification, that our website currently has that functionality, we just don't use it?
Those two, I would say those are like modules, and we don't use those modules.
Okay, but they're available to us.
I believe so, at no extra cost, I think. So I think they're included in the package that we pay for. Okay. But again, I think maybe the reason is, that would involve a lot of staff time potentially to keep those updated. And maybe we don't have that availability. So another thing that we had available to us was the search function. And a lot of people had complained about that in the past. Like when you search election, thered be a bunch of different things that come up. And we did this thing. I just went ahead and did this because it made complete sense. Similar to how Google suggests stuff at the top. Now, when you search certain keywords, I set it up that it will, at the top, it has, a suggested page based on your keyword. So if you search election, ballot, absentee ballot, polls, election day, this elections thing will pop up where it's where we want them to go for election information. And then I don't know what other ones are on there. I have to go and look in the back end what keywords there are, but we can put those in. So if they search sustainability, maybe we want them to go to the sustainability committee page first, or the sustainability Exeter page on the planning department. So you can kind of push people where you want to go. The big caveat, which I didn't know, 80% of website traffic does not go through the homepage. For most, websites, it's coming in from Google and other search engines. So as much as we can do to make the homepage, direct them where they want to go, it's not necessarily worth it because no, people aren't going to exeternh.gov and then finding their way around. They're searching, public works or trash pickup Exeter and going directly to the page. So that goes again to best practices. It's there's not necessarily a problem with our platform, but maybe people aren't titling their pages correctly. And if you just have the page header, trash pickup, Exeter or something, that's what most people search for. So that's what's going to come up. We also kind of did that in our own search of our website. We kind of put more weight on, we just changed it to put more weight on the header. But it's a toss-up on what it's actually going to show up there because, you may have the election word 20 times in the text of something, but not in the header, and that will come up in the search results before elections if it has fewer. So it's all about weighting and algorithms and stuff, and there's not too much we can do with that. But the big grain of salt there is most people aren't going to use our search or even homepage. They're coming in from the outside. So that kind of was enlightening there. The other big
Can I
thing,
just ask a question?
Sure.
About that? So you're saying that if someone doesn't go to the website, but just types in Google Exeter trash pickup, is that the pathway you're saying?
That's I think how most people get to the website.
That's really interesting. Okay.
And they have the Google Analytics or something set up on our page. I don't know if I think I still need to get set up with it. It was probably the previous person who did more stuff with the website was set up, but and also time to really dig down into those things. But in general, most website stuff is coming from the outside. The other big thing that we don't use is we have, and I'll just share screens again. Sorry for that. It keeps jumping you guys to full screen every time I do this, but we have this latest news thing, but it's not really it's not auto-populated or anything like that. This is manually, we've embedded these 4 pages on the site because we want these 4 pages to be there. We don't use the actual news module, which this website has, which would be if you make a page, you can, check a little box when you're publishing the page that sets it as a news release or a press release or something like that. And then there'd be one singular page where in chronological order, there'd be all of those updates to the website. So if someone wanted to go to one place to see like notices and updates to the site, they could all be in one spot. We don't use that. So, something I would consider doing would maybe be making this latest news actually that. And it, maybe it cycles through a couple of the most recent things, but if you clicked on latest news, it'd bring you to a page where it actually has everything listed. And that would be kind of the place we push people towards. It's all about real estate with the front page, even though people aren't necessarily going here, because, we use this banner to get out information, but you can really only have one banner, because if you have more than one, no one's going to click this. It used to automatically scroll, but that's against ADA. And no one's going to be clicking this. They're just going to see what's up there and click it. So you can really only have one banner. And because of that, we have 4 different pieces of information on one banner, and you got to scroll. Not necessarily a great way to do it. And on top of that, from listening to a lot of people's feedback, I have some ideas about simple ways to improve it. And then interested to hear what you guys have, if any of you have, the website experience or just your ideas. But, I have a lot of notes that I took from everybody, and kind of their takeaways. I'm happy to share that during this meeting if you want, because I kind of thought that's what we were going to do, but also if you guys have stuff to add. I know some of you didn't get a chance to do this with me, and maybe we need to, continue doing that.
Yeah, I just, that was great. That was so much information, Bob. Obviously, you're a wealth of information on this stuff. I'm just cognizant of time, just because we're approaching the top of the hour. And I'm happy to have a longer meeting at some point. I don't know if I can get there this morning. So that was a lot. And I think just my personal take on that is that I probably should meet with you and, walk through a lot of this stuff again. And, we can discuss what you had for people's notes, and I can give some of my own contributions. And then I think we can shoot for our next meeting on the 27th is having you go through, having all of the committee members, if they can, meet with you individually before that meeting, and then have our next meeting be more of a substantive walkthrough of, our survey will be done. We don't have to spend any more time talking about that. We can really get into the weeds of the website. I don't mean to kick the can down the road, but that seems to me to be the best approach. So I know you met with Martha and Nina. Bevan, if you're available, to meet with Bob over the next, week or so, that would be great.
Is that still a possibility? So I'll just email Bob separately.
Yep. Yeah, we can set that up. We did it over Zoom. That way, I just basically the way I would approach it is, first, if you wouldn't mind looking through the website if you haven't already, and make any notes about what you think is glaringly wrong or any suggestions, and then I can kind of show you the back end, because I think for Martha and Nina that was kind of illuminating on how it's actually set up, and then who actually does all this posting, and those answers kind of can explain why things are the way they are.
Okay, great.
And Bevan, it just might be more efficient if you, Bob, and me find a time that the three of us can meet, just so we're all on the same Zoom call, just so Bob's not doing it twice.
Yeah, that's
sure.
Fine.
Okay, so we can email about that separately. So that's great. I think this is a really great approach, and I think, hopefully we can do things to improve the website. I think this is great. Did anyone else have any kind of final thoughts or closing thoughts, Martha?
Yeah, I just can't say enough about the work that Bob has been doing. we spent a lot of time in the last year when I first got on the committee spinning our wheels about theoretical issues. And Bob has really gotten us down in the weeds and working with what's practical, what's realistic with what we have now and what the town is spending money for with this website platform with MuniCode. And I can't tell you how much I think he's done to help us out. My particular concern was about the elections information, and he just jumped right on it, and we got Vicky involved, and Russ Dean gave them the okay to have all the elections people coordinate on this, and the turnaround was just fantastic. So I just thank you very much, Bob. I think you've done a fabulous job.
You're welcome. Happy to help out. So, and I kind of, what I want to keep everyone focused on a little bit is like with this stuff. While that was something we could do right away, a lot of the stuff I think we need to. It's about coming back to these best practices, and a lot of it's mapping stuff out. I'll just share my screen one last time, and this is kind of the draft communications plan that I've started putting together already a little bit, and it's just communications workflow, like idea distribution, stuff like that, website, policy, best practices, tools available, all this kind of stuff we got to go through and come up with all that stuff. And I'm hoping that by, breaking down each thing like we did with the website, which I guess we'll talk about next meeting, then we can just draft some ideas for that already and then be informed by that survey later. But
can I just ask one question?
Sure.
I'm a little bit confused by the language we're using. When we talk about having a master plan or a communication plan, that sounds like a long-term type of thing. From what I hear you saying, we're not really talking about a plan, we're talking about procedures and policies.
Yeah, and I guess there's the two kind of ideas there is, at least with what I was thinking is, it's kind of like what we're doing, we're going through all the different platforms, and kind of the report that we get with that is like, what's the policy and best practices and the tools available to fix some of those solutions. And also, that's like a practical document we can use like right now. And then it'd be up to you guys to kind of write any suggestions much beyond that. Because, like this conversation may have started like the website's bad, we need to get a new website.
Right.
That's great.
And we've gone beyond that now, I think.
Yeah, and then it's like, what can we do right now? And then, if you guys have thoughts on what you can do in the future, that's something to talk about as well. But
I'd just like to toss out the idea that we shift our focus to what we can do right now versus a plan, so that we can actually see results. I think people make master plans and they go in a drawer and you don't know what happens with them. And it always triggers in somebody's mind that to put the master plan into effect, we need to spend more money. And this town is allergic to spending more money. So I really like the fact that we've been able to shift our focus to actually dealing with reality and fixing things right now. And so I hesitate to use this plan concept as we move forward with the wonderful work you've been doing.
Yeah, it could just be kind of like some policies and procedure, and then slapped on the back of that some stuff we couldn't solve with that. Here's our suggestions, and considerations about the future, because that's what the master plan and CIP and all that kind of stuff is. While it sometimes does just go, I would say it doesn't just go in a drawer, but it doesn't get actioned on right away. It still will inform actions later. So if you guys found something that was glaringly obvious, but nothing we can do right now, I would still, maybe that's a report that you guys do separately or something like that. But going through fixing each of these things or diving deep into them, I think we'll find things that we can both put in this plan procedure thing, and then stuff that we can't solve, put aside and take note of that, and not to just forget it.
I just want to interject for 1 second. I think the idea of actionable items, But I think also in our discussions previously, it was also important that we have we don't use the plan title necessarily, but sort of direction or procedures for other groups and committees, so that, it's great that we're all working on this and we're very involved and knowledgeable on it. But then how does essentially the source, the communicators, the ones that are trying to get the information out to the public, how can they get that information correctly out? And I think that was part of the procedures as well, is to really have something on paper that gives that direction.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree with that as well. So, excellent. So it's just a moment past 10. I'm thinking about possibly adjourning the meeting. I just wanted to go over a couple of things. Bob, if you could send, given that we've established a subcommittee today with Nina, Martha, and myself, if you could send us the current working draft of the survey that you have, that would be great. And then we can all kind of ruminate on that. And then when we have our meeting next week, hopefully we can just get everything really concrete. And then Nina and Bevan, if you have material from your industry on best practices, that would be great. If you don't mind sending that to me, and then I can put together a meeting packet with Pam for our November 27th meeting, and then we can all kind of review that and start putting that together. And then I would encourage any committee members who haven't met with Bob to meet with him and look at the back end of the website design. And Bevan and Bob, I hope we can work out a time maybe within the next week or so to do that all at the same time. Okay, excellent. I will be drafting up some meeting notes from today. They'll be posting that on the website in compliance with New Hampshire 91A. I know that we have a subcommittee meeting set for next Tuesday, October 20th at 9 a.m. via Zoom, and we have a full committee meeting set for Tuesday, October 27th, also at 9 a.m. Did anyone else have any closing thoughts or comments, questions, concerns? Okay, hearing none.